What you call that noise?
The XTC Podcast.
What do you call that noise?
Welcome back for the second instalment of this lovely Christmas gift from Andy Partridge and Chris Butler, joined by me, Mark Fisher, David White and Mark Reed. In the first episode, we heard Christmas music from Robert Lawlaw. Thanks for that, Robert. German humour from Arthur and Esther. Thanks, Arthur and Esther. And some Yuletide favourites from Martin Newell. And very fine they were too. We also heard about the influence of Christmas wrapping on you and the clouds will still be beautiful. And in turn, about Chris Butler's love of XTC. Talking of which, Chris Butler is one of the many musicians who appear in What Do You Call That Noise, an XTC Discovery book, in which he talks about Shake You Donkey Up, The Mayor of Simpleton, and Ella Guru. That book is available from xtclimelight.com, along with the XTC Bumper Book of Fun for Boys and Girls. And there's a load of reading there you can do too. Now, it's time to delve further into the world of Christmas songs as all of us pick our seasonal favourites in between sundry digressions and revelations. Thanks for listening, and thanks as ever to the Patreon supporters for making it possible. If you've enjoyed the podcast so far, please check out patreon.com/Mark Fisher. Now, over to you, Andy.
Let's do a round where we each pick a song and kind of talk a little about it.
Do you want to kick us off, Andy?
This is kind of perverse because it's an instrumental. A guitarist, a jazz blues guitarist called Duke Robillard.
Oh, man, yeah.
And he did a little instrumental thing called Duke's Christmas. And he starts it off. You hear the sleigh bells and you hear this kind of, he's playing an almost Hawaiian version of, in the lane, snow is glistening. What's that called?
Walking in the winter wonderland.
Wonderland, yeah. So imagine a kind of a slow tempo, the sleigh bells, and then there's a very frantic roll on the drums, ending with the nicest cymbal I have ever heard recorded. This China cymbal. And then they kick off into a fast, frantic, jazzy instrumental where he slips into all these little Christmas tunes. The whole thing is instrumental. He slips into all these little, like da 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 da, and then he's off with it. And then he slips these little bits of carols and little pieces of Christmas tunes in. And every time he does, the engineer turns up the slapback echo on the guitar, so it suddenly becomes like, hey, it's more rock and roll or whatever. But it's an obscure little thing. And I don't know when I heard it, but every year I have to bring this track out and grind it into the floor. I just love it. It's Duke Robillard, Duke's Christmas.
Duke Robillard, yes. Louisiana, I believe.
I know nothing about him. I should really look into his... What do I have? It's David White.
I will tell Chris that, Chris, yours is the one song that I've learnt in case I'm ever invited to an office party. Again, if ever I'm near an office, for one thing, or near a party, because I do have Christmas wrapping off pat, as they say, just in case I'm ever invited to do karaoke.
Oh my gosh. Really? I'm impressed.
And that's why I know it's so difficult to sing.
Yeah. I was thinking about this a lot, and I don't have my list, but I do remember what I wrote. I have to say, and I know it's corny, and I'm going to be very traditional here. I think Silent Night just brings me to tears, and I'm trying to figure out, what exactly. Think about what I mean. There's a major minor shift, and all over the place, which gets me every time. And that's about the one. Night's Christmas memory is going to a Christmas Eve carol performance at our local church. I grew up Italian Hungarian, and the center for the Hungarian community in Cleveland was this massive church and it was almost a double as a settlement house as well. They were very, very big on giving education and smuggling people out of the Soviet era Hungary and teaching them English and all of this. And in fact, it's a bit of a sideline, but it was too successful because they were managed to assimilate in the Hungarian community, and they kind of, they went out of business. Basically, they were a medical charity that found the cure, and they're gone. So that whole thing in Cleveland, but they would have, phenomenal and this enormous kind of Gothic Lutheran church. Hungarian Reformed is a Lutheran branch. And anyway, they would just have, a Christmas caroling or a sacred music evening. And as a kid, just hearing Silent Night in this wonderful reverby resonant chamber. And I can't do it, but they would sing it in Hungarian. And Hungarian is ridiculously hard to learn if you don't grow up with it. And of course, I was supposed to be assimilated, so I can't speak Italian or Hungarian except a few cuss words in either language. But again, I'm being traditional, and I'm kind of visualizing it now, having Silent Night, wafting all off the walls in this pretty large, I guess it's the Apes area. Maybe not. Anyway, where all the congregation is, and there are 300, 400, 500 people in there, and easily 20, 30, 40 voice choir, and they're doing all these songs. And then the greatest hit is, I swear, is Silent Night in Hungarian, not German or not English, but in Hungarian. So that's I have to vote for that one. I have to go traditional on that.
In a similar vein, Martin Newell mentioned O Come, Emmanuel, which slightly surprised me that he mentioned that. But just today I went online and I discovered that Belle and Sebastian have recorded a version of it, and it's perfect for them because it's sweet and soft. And so that was my latest find, I guess. And actually, in the spirit of being sacrilegious, I think I prefer Holly Partridge's version of Wrap You at Christmas to the Monkees. Am I allowed to say that?
Yes, Holly Partridge.
I sent them the demo because they wanted to put this disc out. I sent them the demo. I said, look, the only really decent one I've got is with her singing it, because it was written for a female artist originally. And I thought, well, I better do this in a female-friendly key. So I moved the key up, and I thought, shit, I can't sing it. And Holly's got a really good voice. So I said, look, would you come down and help Dad out and sing this for me? And she did, and I posted that to the Monkees. But they went and put it out on some vinyl release recently, and I've got a copy of it, but I can't play it. I can smell it. Or whatever you do with vinyl that you can't play. I can melt it, but I can't. You
don't have a record. You don't have a record player. Well, Christmas is coming up. We should all chip in and get Andy a turntable.
No, I mustn't do vinyl again. Vinyl took my house over.
Just before we started, I was saying that somebody on Facebook posted a link to a geeky technical musical equipment website where somebody was reviewing a turntable, not even the speakers or the amplifiers, just the turntable, which cost $250,000.
Oh yeah.
So we won't get that one for you, Andy. Apparently, and the reason they linked to it was because English Settlement sounded very good on it, as well it might.
No, I felt spoiled having a Dan set.
Right. That's right.
And lid down if you wanted bass, lid up if you wanted treble.
Isn't that what they EQ'd English records for, to sound good on? The singles that I grew up with, in the '60s, the British singles were EQ'd high mid-range so that they would sound good.
Had loads of that stuff, and I guess it was to sound good on crappy little players. And that's the only reason I can. Or they were all deaf and they just cranked those tops up, But it's very nice of you, Mark, to mention that. I'll let her know.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
So hang on. Other Mark.
So I'll try not to go obscure. I'll go obvious. Christmas is a time of excess. And so I would have to go with Darlene Love, Christmas Baby, Please Come Home. It's got everything. It's got tinsel, glitter, sugar.
Yes.
All cranked up to 11.
Yes, yeah. Agreed.
Like 4 drummers, 4 bass players.
Exactly.
Half a dozen acoustic guitars strumming, 2 pianos, clonking.
Is it fair to say that only Phil Spector and Roy Wood could do Phil Spector?
Yeah, right. Hal Blaine, all the
Yeah,
Wrecking Crew,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Carol
But
Kay.
Right, actually, you're right. Only Phil Spector and Roy Wood could do Phil Spector.
There was a tradition here when Dave Letterman had his late night talk show that he would have her back every year to do that song live with their band. And now that he's on cable, he doesn't do that anymore. But that went on for years and years. And Darlene Love would come out and just kill it. Just kill it. I agree. Fabulous, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's also one of those records that no matter how often you hear it, it still gets you in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
There's very few records can actually still have that effect when you've heard them so often.
Yeah.
Present company accepted, of course.
Actually, Andy, before you give your next choice, Andy, just picking up on what Mark said about heart, I can imagine the temptation to try and write a cynical Christmas song, and I can imagine that temptation would be fatal because it just wouldn't work out. How do you get rid of cynicism so that you can be genuinely into the idea when you write a song like that?
A song like, sorry.
Well, like any Christmas song, because Christmas songs have to be good-hearted and full of Christmas cheer.
Yeah, unless you're Peter Serafinovich. What's that thing he did? Simply Dreaming of a Sexual Christmas. Can you remember that? It was on one of his. David's laughing because he can remember it. It's he does this skit where he plays McCartney, and I think goes into a neighbour's party, and they make the video, and he's look out for it on YouTube. It's called something like Simply Having a Sexual Christmas or something like that.
There's a gentleman's club in London a couple years back that had a parade of scantily clad in the PG version and non-scantily clad hostesses, walking around with to having Christmas wrapping in the background. I thought that was a hoot and a half. On an unlicensed pirated use, by the way. But
Yes,
right. I try and keep track of that stuff, but my administrator did not go after it.
Okay, I'm going to go semi-trad now. It's the Beach Boys, who are allowed to have loads of Christmas stuff just because of the mass of it. But I'm going to pick Loop-de-loop, flip-flop, Santa's got an aeroplane. Loop-de-loop, flip-flop. Santa's got an aeroplane. Fantastic. So good. Just takes so many drunken, tinsel-covered, pudding-stained things. That's all.
After all Brian Wilson has done, sir.
After all he's done for me, that's all I can say about Santa's got an aeroplane.
Yeah, there's plenty of joke stuff, right? Oh God, what do they play here all the time? Grandma got run over by a reindeer or something, or a sleigh. Okay, Bruce Springsteen, say what you like. That's a pretty damn good version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Phil Spector style. That gives me a Woody. I'll have to tell you, a Christmas Woody.
With your psychiatrist, if that's giving you a Woody.
Yes, right. Oh, what else? Oh, and Eartha Kitt. Smoking, right? Santa Baby, right? Oh God. Pearl Bailey, the Pearl Bailey song, "Give Me Money." That's pretty great. Santa, just give me some money. They don't play that much here, but that's a great one. Pearl Bailey, getting real, getting real with it.
Hang on, David, we skipped you. Sorry, you gotta come in here.
It kind of leads on to a question. I hope you don't mind. And that is that we've talked a bit about sort of the lighter, maybe party-going, sing-along type records, and I was going to ask if there's any sort of whether you like the sort of light and shade of Midwinter. And we've talked a bit about Come On Emmanuel, sort of, more minor chords and so on. And there's something by an American group called Low, called Just Like Christmas, and it's very mournful. It sounds like it was recorded actually next door to the performance rather than actually in the same room. Very lo-fi. And I was just wondering if anybody else knows that one, or I'm just going to be on a limb here. Just like Christmas, very mournful, but I love it.
Really lost me here.
Yeah.
L-O-W.
L-O-W.
L-O-W,
What's the title? What's the title?
Just like Christmas.
Just like Christmas.
And
It's got a nice sleigh bell shuffle on it.
It breaks your heart every 8 bars with a major to minor modulation. And yes, very sad. And it's something about a heartbreaking trip to Stockholm. You know it's not going to end well.
Must check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andy, when you've written Christmas songs, are you in the same situation that Chris just described, that you're writing them in August with a view for them to be released in December?
I think all the best Christmas records are probably made in June, July, August, that sort of thing.
Yes. Well, that gets to the point of kind of what you need. And if I repeat myself, I was asked by NME to come up with 5 things that are important in terms of writing a Christmas song. And the first, of course, is to convert to Judaism, because all the best Christmas songs were written by Jewish people: Irving Berlin, Mel Torme, and maybe if I had converted, the song would have done better. And I made the mistake, point 2, of don't date your lyrics, because we thought this was a toss-off. The line, we have most of 81. I quote the year. That was stupid of me. The song becomes dated in the very first verse. That's dumb. Point 3, you must have a trumpet.
You gotta have a trumpet.
You gotta have a trumpet. Gotta have a trumpet.
Yep. That's essential.
Point 4, really, you should avoid Jesus, because none of the songs we're talking about has anything to do with Jesus.
Cliff never learned that one.
I mean, do you want a pop hit or something sung in churches where there is no performance royalty in a church? So you have to avoid our Savior at all costs. You must have something about the Christmas spirit, some redemption, transformation. A Scrooge or a Scroogette has to see the light somehow.
And also the ghostly element. Ghosts are pretty big shit at Christmas.
That's a good one. Ghosts are good. Yeah.
I don't know
3
why.
wise men, 3 spirits, and then in the Christmas Carol, cult of 3. You need 3 things. Okay, maybe that's it.
How do you get by making a song that sounds original but also sounds Christmassy? So you have to have the trumpets and you have to have the sleigh bells, but you also have to make it sound worth listening to.
There has to be some kind of jingle jangle somewhere, yes?
I think sleigh bells are pretty de rigueur. You know, Christmas is like the one time a year where if you want to go corny and you want to go trad, it's completely acceptable.
Yes, it is. It is. Isn't there a Beefheart story about
him and sleigh bells? Yeah.
Yes, 50 sleigh bells. What do you need them for, Captain? Overdubs.
Yeah, exactly.
Overdubs.
There's no concept of you have one pair, you can shake them again.
Right. Oh, by the way, okay, total non sequitur. Ella Guru. My God, you covered Ella Guru.
Oh.
What balls?
I picked the simplest song, apart from the blues kind of singing part, the simplest song on Trackmaster Replica.
Yeah, but how did you get the voice? Did you use a vocoder or something?
No, I just had to.
Fuck.
You have to get very close to the microphone.
Yeah,
okay. You have to. I don't even know where the mic is on this computer. I can't do my Beefheart.
Okay, fanboy break over.
But it's not the only Beefheart parody I've done. I did a few years ago, giving the secret away here, called Bug Dream. What it was is I was the magic band. I did the bass, 2 guitars and drums. And then I took all of the solo unaccompanied poems, pieces from Trackmaster Replica, and I cut out words that I liked, and I made a poem of the good captain, and I tentatively titled it Bug Dream, and I laid that over this backing track. So I've made an ersatz out from Trackmaster that never existed. So one of these days you may get to hear it.
The missing track. The
Yeah,
missing track from right.
But there are no sleigh bells on it, sadly.
I used to share a space. I lived in Hoboken, New Jersey for a long time, and my studio space was in a wonderful warehouse. I was on the 5th floor. Sonic Youth were in the first floor, and I always was grateful for having them because they would throw stuff out, and I would go to the skip, you would say, or dumpster for us, and there would always some treasure in there. My sleigh bells are cast-offs from
Really?
Sonic Youth.
I'll tell you what was the best for me, the best percussion source was, and I think the chain is closed now, but I haven't got toddlers anymore, was Mother Care. You used to go there and there'd be like kids' percussion things.
Oh, yes.
Like little sticks with sleigh bells on the top, or little tiny tambourines, or little tiny drums, or
a little tin drum, right?
Yeah, and I'd go and buy armsfuls of this stuff from Mother Care, shit cheap. And then that was my percussion, because you go and buy the same thing in a music store. Oh, you want that equivalent? Oh, that's called a Moroccan Goudaha drum, and that's
right.
20 quid. What?
Yeah.
Get that for £1.50 in Mother Care. It may have a smiley teddy bear on it, but it.
right.
So Mother Care was the source of all my percussion stuff.
If you listen really carefully to XTC records, you can hear the smiley bear.
yes.
You can hear the Zippy Zither. I don't think that was from Mother Care, but that was crazy cheap, and that's been on every XTC album. The Zippy Zither.
That's great.
It's on the end of Mole from the Ministry. It plays the theme to Life is Good in the Greenhouse on the outro of Mole from the Ministry. That down, 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 as Mole is kind of doing its slight return. So Zippy Zither is like a not a charity store, but some cheapo, novelty place.
Yeah. Love.
I've got
Orff instruments, I believe they're called Orff, ORFF. It's a kid, our kindergarten like musical education kit. You get the Orff instruments, and the kids bang around and march around, and they're wonderful. That's wonderful stuff.
Yeah, love it. Cheap percussion.
Cheap percussion,
you can't beat it.
Homemade
percussion too, like vitamin C tubes, plastic tubes with vitamin C tablets. Finish off that, fill it up with rice, tape up one end.
Best. Yeah, agreed.
Washing up bottle. I've got a bass shaker. It's a big washing up liquid full of rice.
A paper towel roll, right? Or whatever. Yeah. Right. Yeah, bullseye.
Okay, back to Christmas. Sorry.
I've got a Christmas-related question, Andy, because you just mentioned the Captain Beefheart thing. Are you also sitting on a load of Christmas songs that have not been released? And if so, are you allowed to say?
Yes. At least 2 volumes of my failed songwriting career are going to be my failed Christmas career. So there's going to be... what's going to be on there? Cool Yule, a song called Cool Yule, which was written originally around about the same time as Thanks for Christmas, but I originally preferred maybe Thanks for Christmas is easier for the... Shall I do the Thanks for Christmas story? Because there's a little story that goes with Thanks for Christmas. Okay, so I love Christmas songs, as you can kind of tell, and I also love anonymous music. Like let the band be somebody else, or let's call ourselves something else and do a track or do a record or whatever. Love all that. I'm well into anonymous authors, anonymous groups. The anonymous groups things. I mean, Beach Boys did it with Carl and the Passions. Roy Wood and did it with Eddie and the Falcons. So it's, loads of people have done all this sort of stuff. And every time I'd ring up Virgin Records to talk to somebody, you'd get through to a secretary, and they would always say, "Hi, Mary here," da 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 da, and then you'd ring up somebody else, and his secretary was called Mary, and it seemed like this running gag where everybody that worked at Virgin Records, their secretary was called Mary. So I thought, you know what, it'd be a great idea if I wrote a really simple to sing Christmas song, and there's a little bit of mischief here. And I thought, what we do is we record it, and then we get all the female staff of Virgin Records to sing it in a big crowd, and then we can put it out as Thanks for Christmas by the Virgin Marys. Which I thought was a bit mischievous, but I had a meeting with, I think, who was our A&R man at the time? Simon Draper, lovely fella. And I gave him this idea. Oh no, I don't think we could do that. Why don't you fellas do it? So I thought, oh, maybe, and and then the more I thought about it, I thought, yeah, why not? So that's why the Three Wise Men came into being, was because the Virgin Marys was considered to be too outre even for Virgin Records at the time.
Mm. Yeah, but you do like wearing other identities, like
love
the Dukes. I love it.
Yeah.
It's liberating, right? It's liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah, to assume another persona that's not bound by
bubblegum records sampler that never was. We 12 different bubblegum bands. So, but we were going to be every band. But I've got books full of suggested names. All the songs were written, but that never happened. But I just love that anonymous music thing.
Yeah,
if I could do that forever, I'd do that. I wouldn't be me. I'd be, Fred and the Lyrics or whatever.
Earlier, I was telling Mark that I was asked to write a song for Britney Spears. She wanted something more mature from a woman's perspective, and she had turned the grand old age of 19 or something. And she was tired of being, the kiddie pop kind of stuff. And I wrote this song. I had 24 hours to slam something together, and it's basically complaining about being hit on all the time on the street and saying, "Grow up. Yes, I'm a woman now, but get off my back." Blah, blah, blah. Of course, they didn't use it. So I have quite a pile of rejected songs, great disappointments, all horror work that you do. And if they don't use it, well, what do you do? I'm not the most prolific. I can't have all these things lying around. My overall goal of doing all of this from day one was, I really would like to be popular in Europe. And I have these songs, so I'm going to invent a band called Kilo Pop, who are the second best pop band in Europe, but unknown in the United States because they couldn't get a record deal. And I recorded an entire album of these people. And I have a wonderful friend who's a graphics artist who lives in Brighton. And he ran with the idea and came up with a whole graphic backstory and the entire history of Kilo Pop. And I did press releases. I have the CD. It's called Un Petit Goûter, A Little Taste. That was great fun. And also, just to wrap this up, The Waitresses with Liam Sternberg, my writing partner, way back in the day. We both started this adventure together. We were in other bands, and they were full-time commitments. This is in Akron, Kent area. And we decided exactly that, to where we need to come up with fake bands because we could tell whopping stories about it, but also we had songs that we had written and there was no outlet for it. So he came up with Jane Eyre and the Belvederes and did find his Jane Eyre, Jane Ashley, and I came up with The Waitresses. So the idea of pranking, the music business with anonymous bands or fake project, simpatico. We're on the same page there.
Yeah. Well, a friend of mine sent me. I was talking to him last night, and he said, "Did you know the Zombies story? The '60s band, the Zombies. They made an album, Odyssey and Oracle, which I think I'm not sure whether it got released during the band's lifetime. I think they'd already split.
I believe you're right.
And the record company in the States, which I got a feeling might have been CBS, they had a big hit with Time of the Season. They put that Time of the Season out, an earlier recording, had a big hit with that. And they said, you got to come and tour the States. You know, you're huge with Time of the Season. And they said, well, there is no zombies anymore. It doesn't exist. So somebody put together a fake zombies that was all American musicians, but the snag was there was no keyboard player. 2 guitars, bass, and drums. And the sound of the zombies was the Hammond organ and clavinet and piano and stuff like that. And he said more surprising was that 2 of these members of the fake zombies that toured the States were 2 members of ZZ Top. So you got to look into this story. He assures me it's true. But the fake zombies, half of the fake zombies was ZZ Top.
And Andy, then, do you have the same experience? In fact, it sounds like both of you have the same experience, which is that as soon as you put on this different outfit, you somehow free yourself and you don't have to be XTC, or you can be this other thing. You can be the Dukes of Stratosphere, you can be the Three Wise Men, you can be...
Like I say, that's something that not only musicians do, I mean, authors do that. I'm a big fan of Kurt Vonnegut, and he wrote about that.
Trout, right?
Kilgore Trout.
Kilgore Trout, yes.
Right, terrible sci-fi author that would write about. There's a book released.
Yes, I have it. I have it on my shelf.
Me too. Yeah, me too. It's so I love that thing of worlds within worlds and fake identities, and I love all that.
Yep, me too. I love it. I love
that to me is much more magical than just, you know, Joe Blow and here he is, and you know, it's. I'd rather this element of mystery and the fact that they're totally unknown. And, I love this record, but I have no idea who it is and what they are and where they're from, and you know, just that's fantastic.
On the first Waitresses album, we thank Dr. Nicholas Bordacchi for his inspiration. The name Nicholas Bordacchi, I believe I have that right, was in fact a consortium of academics who individually could not get themselves published. They were scientists, and they were 2 either, you know, teaching assistants or whatever, but they had a paper and they couldn't. So they invented exactly that. They invented an identity. Nicholas Bordacchi or Bourbaki, I believe it was, and were able to publish for a while for peer review some of their work under this nom de plume. I just love stories like that, and you know, because if everybody butts their head against kind of crack whatever wall is in front of you, when a clever end run often, you know,
it's a lot of pressure having to be yourself. That's the trouble.
True.
To be what they've got to be true. I'm sick of being true. I want to tell some musical fibs.
I want to tell fibs. I my personal emotional life is too boring to put my heart out in an acoustic song. Oh my God, the movie Once, please. It makes me literally vomit. It's so earnest and.
They even do this. They even do this alias thing not alias, but sort of non-real people thing in television. For many years, and I'm going to spoil this tale, but I can't remember their name. But when you'd see rostrum, all the credits go up in 60s, 70s TV, and then you'd always see rostrum camera, and it was always the same name.
Yes.
I think it was Ken somebody, but I can't think what their name was. And this person never existed. It was just if you worked in TV, the big gag was the rostrum camera or whatever was Ken, and no such person existed. Shall I steer us back to Christmas? I don't think you're going to get much more. Well, I've certainly not got more trad than this, but one of my favorite records, which has to come out every Christmas. Here's the CD version. Excuse me, I'm hiccuping as well. It's on EMI. It's called A Classic Christmas. I don't know if you can see that. Hey. And it's all orchestral versions of Christmas tunes. And the London Philharmonic do a special version of Troika. You know, da 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 da, that one, and it is just phenomenally beautiful. It just gets me every time, and it's got an extra special layer of for me because I used to push together. We had two cheap light leather sofas so you could literally push with one hand. They were just cheap crap. I don't know what sort of leather they were, you know, kind of. They were ludicrously cheap, these things, you know. I used to push the two sofas together, tell the kids when they were toddlers that was their sleigh, and then I'd get them some string or some old belts or something, and they'd be like whipping imaginary reindeers, and then I'd put Troika on the player, and I'd say, "Come on, this is," you know, and I'd be shouting encouragement from the wings. They loved it. They totally lived being Santa and the helpers, or just, you know, rogue helpers having stolen the sleigh. Mm-hmm. So that version of Troika has an extra special level of meaning for me.
And of course, it appears in the Greg Lake. Every Christmas, you're bound to hear it because you hear the Greg Lake song. So
that's right. He nabbed it and stuck it in there. You're right. You're right.
And has Prokofiev ever seen a hint of royalties?
No. Did they ever ring up Mr. Prokofiev? No. Iggy Prokofiev, ring him up and say, you know, we got money for you, Iggs.
I have a soft spot for Sleigh Ride because that has the whip sound. I thought it was very S&M. That's a good one.
That's one of the hardest sounds to record.
Yeah, a whip, right.
Yeah. Have you ever tried recording a whip? Hang on.
I've used a whip tube. That's real hard because.
Sleigh Ride. Of course, it doesn't tell you the composer. This version conducted by Maurice Hanford. But Sleigh Ride's fantastic, but it's got the whip in it. That's right.
Yeah.
We had to record a whip, and it's one of the most motherfucking difficult sounds to record. It's really difficult. We had whips. They didn't sound like whips.
Right.
We had, you know, belts, trying to crack belts.
You need a slapstick, right? You had two pieces of wood on a hinge.
That's what we ended up doing. We ended up doing it with editing two sounds together. And I think it was like somebody, you know, moving something fast by the mic, and then the slapstick. You know.
Yeah, right.
But it wasn't one sound. We had to edit these things to make a whip. But yeah, it's in Shake Your Donkey Up. The whip.
Right.
Yeah.
Donkey Up, right.
Yeah, it's all it's several sounds compiled. Yeah. Let's go more Christmas. So come on.
Yeah, more Christmas stuff.
Come on.
I was just thinking of, oddly and unusually, but it's my daughter's favourite song, All I Want for Christmas Is You by Mariah Carey. And I think one of the things about it is that it's 1994, but it sounds like it's been there forever.
It sounds like Spector. It sounds like a Spector number.
Yeah. It's just a glorious melody that just keeps on going.
You can imagine Spector pulling his revolver out and threatening her if she didn't get it in the next take, things were going to get serious. Actually, John Leckie has got a great Phil Spector story, Phil Spector and Revolver story. I don't know if I've ever told you, Mark. John Leckie had to engineer or tape up a session where Phil Spector was producing.
Wow.
And he said it was in a studio, I can't remember where it was, but he said the mixing desk was up on a podium. And he said Spector was due to arrive at such and such a time. And he said like an hour before, they had to turn all the air conditioning down as low as it would go. So it became like a meat fridge in there. And he said there were two huge security goons stood on the door with headsets and, you know, the whole thing going. And it was like, he said he was petrified. What was this Spector going to be like, you know? And he doesn't even remember what band. It was a band. But Spector came in and the session started. And he pulled out this huge revolver. And he got on the talkback and he showed it to the band. As if to say, come on, you got us. you got to start getting this in the next few takes, fellas.
Mm,
And he's showing his revolver to the band, and then he lays it on the mixing desk, and they do a few more takes, and he's getting really upset that they're not getting the take. So he lifts up the revolver, he presses down the slate talkback mic, says, "Hey, you motherfuckers," and he shoots his revolver into the ceiling. But he doesn't twig that his chair that he's on has got wheels, and he doesn't twig that the mixing desk is on a podium about a foot up. So the force of the shot into the ceiling sent the chair shooting backwards. He went base over apex, and the band were just pissing themselves with laughter. And that was the end of all his attempts at discipline in the session.
wow. I wonder if that was the Ramones. That was Bowie. Oh
I
boy.
know.
Oh, boy.
Isn't that a great story?
That's a great story.
Yeah.
God damn.
There was no way that he could regain control after that. I'm going back to Christmas. Okay. Couple more Beach Boys ones. I'll do these ones quickly. Santa's Beard. Do we know the Beach Boys' Santa's Beard? Where he takes his 5-year-old baby brother to a department store to see Father Christmas, and the kid's pulling his beard, and he's not the real Santa Claus, and he wants to see the real Santa Claus. And the song is the Beach Boys singing, he's the real Santa Claus, and and it's the kids singing he's not the real Santa Claus. Great little song. Now, here's something while we're finishing up in Beach Boys land. Does anyone else think this? Do we all know Little Birdhouse in Your Soul by They Might Be Giants? Right?
Yes.
Everyone's nodding on that one.
Yeah, they're pals of mine.
Do we... I hope this isn't going to upset them. Do we all know Winter Symphony by the Beach Boys? You know Winter Symphony? And he's nodding there. Yeah, he knows it. No, one shake, one nod. I was playing it yesterday, and I have a funny feeling that Little Birdhouse in Your Soul is kind of a sped up Winter Symphony. Go and play the Beach Boys' Winter Symphony, and there's something. It's like a jigsaw puzzle of Little Birdhouse in Your Soul, but slowed down. And you're hearing this Winter Symphony is it's da 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 da, and then it's got the same sort of change for the next bit, and it's like, oh, whoa, that's really naughty. If it is, I mean, I know Colin gets, with Standing In for Joe, he gets Barrytown flung at him all the time, but I've got a funny feeling that Winter Symphony, or rather Birdhouse in Your Soul, is not unrelated to Winter Symphony. But
let's check it out.
Yeah, check it out. If it's not, then I do apologize. But it's an amazing sort of accidental cross-pollination. It's really sets off the same perfume in my head. Okay, somebody else talk. I'm talking all the time.
I thought the Monkees Unwrap You at Christmas was quite good. Bravo. Okay, it's a little log rolling here because you're on camera, but I really enjoyed that too. There's no doubt that it's an Andy Partridge song.
I was so honored to be asked. I mean, that's just so big for me as a kid.
Bye.
And then to be asked to write that, I was excited to write. They did that kind of comeback album. What's it called? Good Times.
Mm-hmm.
And their manager emailed me and said, "Would you like to write something for the Monkees?" And of course, me write for the Monkees. The 13-year-old in me was just dribbling with "Let Me at It," and that was "You Bring the Summer," which I had as an idea, and I think I had like 4 lines of it, but no idea how it would go. And it was like, oh yeah, you bring the summer. It's let's do summer because the Monkees are summer, And but to be asked to do that Christmas song, fantastic. Just
Yeah.
and I never knew there was some boy band thing called Unwrap You, or it's somebody like Boys for Boys to Men, or In Sync, or something like that. I had no concept until somebody said, "Hey, there's a boy band thing called Unwrap You," and I thought, "Damn, I thought that was the original concept, but it's not." Well, thank you, Chris. I was just honoured and delighted to be asked to do that.
Chris, this is like the alternative. Tell us about songs for unsung holidays.
Well, obviously, I've been asked to write other holiday songs, and I couldn't think of anything more dismal. But the reed player for Tin Huey, who went on to wonderful, great things with Tom Waits and the B-52s, and then went on into the great beyond. I miss you, Ralph. Is it Ralph Carney? And Ralph Carney was a phenomenal genius, multi-instrumentalist. And he called 3-4 years ago and said, "Hey, let's do a project." And he's in California, and I'm in Ohio. And we said, "Okay, people have been bugging me to do holiday songs. Why do we do ridiculous holidays? Because Ralph is very silly, and I like to be silly, even though I'm pegged as a serious guy. But my secret life is that I'm silly like him." And we did an entire album that was on our label here, small label called Smog Veil, and it's songs for unsung holidays. And we did things like a Penguin Appreciation Day and Salami Day and Tapioca Day. We had great fun with that, and it was so much fun to do a project
My
with him.
favorite pretend holidays. Like years ago, I heard somebody come up with the quote, "All Squid's Eve." There's a day where all squids are celebrated, and you have to have All Squid's Eve.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yes, for all the squids in our path.
Yeah, but the eve, what do you do? The special thing you do on the eve, dress up with a sucker on your head.
Right, that's right.
Squirt ink at each other. Go from door to door, squirting ink at old people.
Backwards, you have to walk backwards. Everything is
yeah, you walk backwards after you squirted them.
I'm just noticing the time and remembering that podcasts do actually have to finish at some point, probably about half an hour ago. So maybe the point now is to wish each other a happy Squids Day and to thank everybody, Andy Partridge, Chris Butler, David White and Mark Reed, and to wish you all a very merry thing and a happy new year.
Just before we go, can I sneak in one little thing?
You certainly can, yes.
The most unlikely Christmas thing ever, actually there's two, but one of them, the Rolling Stones album, Satanic Majesty's Request, their Satanic Majesty's Request, was originally going to be called We Wish You a Psychedelic Christmas. And the track that ends side one is a theremin and a lot of white noise and somebody booming, sort of like hitting a drum slow down or something. And it's, if you listen to it carefully, it is We Wish You a Merry Christmas. So that is my parting shot for lovely, unlikely Christmas track. Have a great one, folks.
Have a great one.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Happy Christmas, y'all.
This podcast would not have been possible without all of the wonderful people who've supported it on Patreon, which you can do at patreon.com/Mark Fisher. And the Knights in Shining Karma are among them. They are Mats Anderson, Terry Arnott, Dan Barrow, Matt Bell, Kevin Burt, Liam Duggan, Jamie Dunn, Helen Fay, Robert Graham, Robert Lawlaw, Dennis LeCourrier, Liz Lynch, Amy Parkinson, Murray Meikle, Kevin Murray, Karen Neal, James Newell, Mark Reed, James Reimer, Simon Slatehome, Michael Sutcliffe, Nigel Wallow, and William Wilkstrom. Thank you very much to all of those people. If you'd like to support the XTC podcast, you can do so, as I said, at patreon.com/Mark Fisher. See you next time.
What do you call that noise?
Head to xtclimelight.com where you can buy my 2 XTC books. First, there's the XTC Bumper Book of Fun for Boys and Girls, which is an anthology of Limelight, the XTC fanzine I made from 1982 to 1992.
We had a couple of lifelines to the world, and Limelight was one of them.
So the book is the XTC Bumper Book of Fun for Boys and Girls. It's stunning.
It features new interviews with XTC members, including Dave Gregory.
So I just took a deep breath and thought to myself, well, I wonder how long this is going to last. We're going to enjoy it as long as I'm here.
Colin Moulding.
That mixture of bittersweet is more powerful than all one flavour.
Terry Chambers.
We enjoyed each other's company as much as sort of playing.
And Andy Partridge.
So how did I go from being an illiterate peasant to being a well-read peasant?
It's a big thing, and you can hold it and you can pick it up and you can open a page and go, oh, right, here we go. We've got some letters. You know, it's just a delicious thing to dive in and out of.
Thank you, Ian Lee. And then there's What Do You Call That Noise, an XTC discovery book, where you'll find more from the band, plus commentary from musicians, including Anton Barbeau.
For me, it's just simply a life-changing song.
Anne McHugh.
It's like a painting by Van Gogh.
Jason Faulkner.
XTC probably made the most impact on me of any band that I can think of.
Chris Butler.
If there's anything more classic XTC, this is it.
And Rick Buckler.
It was well produced as well. It had the support of a great producer. I mean, it really sounded strong.
Order your copies of both books at xtclimelight.com.
It's a paper and ink net, the internet with added staples.